What's up, y'all? Jake here, and today I am going to be reacting to a video that went viral and is making its rounds across the internet. It features Terrence Howard telling us all about his interesting theories, and he was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm going to let you know right now, my opinion of Joe Rogan is that he's a total shillbag, an industry plant. And so I don't trust Joe Rogan at all, and the same goes for anyone he has as a guest. So, with all that said, let's start this reaction video right about now.
What, in your model, what happens to these suns when they supernova?
Everything gets old and die.
Everything gets old and die.
Everything gets old and die.
Oh, really now? Do rocks get old and die? Does dirt get old and die? Does water get old and die? Does the air get old and die?
So as the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand, they go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point they come back.
Well, at a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars and they have an expanding, what is the thing, the solar wind. They have expanding solar winds. Mm-hmm. So when they meet, our star meets the solar wind from another star at that end of that spot. Now there's two pressure conditions. So you have another Lagrange spot that's happening there.
Right.
That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit, and if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric. So they, instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
If you're right, so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. Oh, well, the universe backs me up.
That's debatable.
And I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have introduced a new form of flight with unlimited midair bonding.
Oh, yeah, sure. You got it. Sure.
Well, then once we write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations.
What?
Well, then once we write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations.
What? Exactly.
Let's walk through this, where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2. And then when you divide it by 2 and cube it again, you get back to you take the square root of 2, 1.414213562373095. You cube it, it's 2.828427121746190. Divide it by 2, it gets back to 1.414. Cube it again, is back to 2.828. Divide it by 2, back to 1.414.
This is starting to sound like some Scott Steiner arithmetic. A little bit of Big Papa Pump math.
See, normally if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beating me. You got a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But I got a 66 2/3 chance of winning. So Samoa Joe, you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning at sacrifice. But then you take my 75% chance of winning. If we used to go one-on-one and then add 66 and 2/3 percent, I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning at sacrifice. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
All right, let's get serious for a minute. We got a couple of actors on the world stage, and the goal of this segment is for Terrence Howard to go viral. And in this day and age, in order to go viral, you gotta say something controversial, you gotta say something crazy. And in this instance, they purposely are having Terrence Howard sound like he is out of his mind or crazy. And at the same time, they're also going to make him sound like he might be far more intelligent than anyone gives him credit for. So what they're going to do is they're going to convince millions of people that he's insane or he's a super genius. And so by having him spew a bunch of nonsensical pseudoscience bullshit, they can have him go viral, and that's basically all he did for 3 hours was just spew a bunch of nonsense and pseudoscience while Joe Rogan was egging him on the whole time. Oh, well, tell us about the expanding suns. Oh, well, can you tell us about what happens in your model of the universe? So Joe Rogan is purposely giving him setup questions, and Terrence Howard is purposely spewing pseudoscience bullshit in order to go viral on purpose. That's the whole goal, to get attention. And sadly, it worked. And even more sadly, there's people out there that think Terrence Howard, after this Joe Rogan interview, is some sort of super genius ahead of his time. Meanwhile, I'm the guy telling you, hey, Joe Rogan is a controlled puppet on the world stage, and Terrence Howard is an actor from Hollyweird. Need I say more? And so now, this sets up a future debate between Terrence Howard and Neil deGrasse Tyson. And of course, it'll be a controlled, scripted debate, and Neil deGrasse Tyson will most likely embarrass Terrence Howard and make him look like a fool as planned. And this will be very similar to when Neil deGrasse Tyson corrected Joe Rogan on his own podcast about the moon landings. Remember when Joe Rogan used to say that the moon landings were fake? And then Neil deGrasse Tyson showed up to his podcast and cucked him out in front of his own audience and made him change his mind and change his stance on the moon landings being fake. Now, Joe Rogan is the only human being I've ever heard of that used to say the moon landings are fake, but then changed his mind. And coincidentally, it took Neil deGrasse Tyson to change his mind. So, you see Neil deGrasse Tyson always showing up to correct these celebrities who say something foolish. So, I wouldn't be shocked if you see a future debate between these two. Now, these are just my opinions, and I could be wrong. And whether you agree or you disagree, let me know down in the comments section below. I love when people leave me feedback on my videos, unless it's bad feedback. So, hit the thumbs up button, or else. And I will see you next time. Peace. Haha, just kidding. Or am I?